do, YouTubers? Sorry I ain't got a shirt on. Really, I'm not sorry. I actually like having no shirt on. And when I get to Puerto Rico, you guys are gonna have to get used to this because there's gonna be a lot of no shirt on. So, sorry, not sorry. The video today, I want to talk about this research that just came out in the, well, here, I'll show you. This is a real clinical trial research and has been documented in the Medical Journal of Science. You can see there. And this research was done with 455 participants. And how this research, you know, it's kind of hard to read research papers if you don't understand clinical trials and all those things. And a lot of us don't, right? Well, my wife worked clinical trials for 20 years, and she has over time educated me on many different things when it comes to the medical studies and clinical trials and those kinds of things. So from what I've gathered from it, understanding it, I can kind of read it and actually make sense of it. So it's not Spanglish to me anymore, so to say. So this 455 participant trial, these people came into the hospital with conditions. They had, you know, a fever, or they had cough, or some of them had cancer. All 455 of these patients went into this hospital with an issue. And then when they got to the hospital asked them if they would like to voluntarily be involved in a clinical medical trial research. And so you voluntarily do this, and you either go in and do it or you don't. And some people do it because maybe maybe it'll help them, or maybe they're getting money out of it, or maybe they want to help the better cause of humanity, right? So 455 people were exposed to a person who had tested positive for the corona bug, COVID-19, SARS-2, as we all know. He tested positive for it, or she, I'm not sure if it was a he or she, but that one person tested positive for it. And so asymptomatic person, and they exposed this one person to all 455 people for average of 4 days. Okay, average of 4 days. So these 455 people came in contact with this one COVID person, a corona bug person, for average of 4 to 5 days. There was 3 different kind of participants. There were family members, people who were coming in and were family or whatever, and then there was workers of the hospital, and then the patients. So, and these people, the patients, the people who were coming into the hospital, some of them had cancer. There was one person who had chemotherapy treatment, and their only symptom after being exposed to this person who had corona bug was they experienced fever. And the medical studies done on that was the fever was a result to the chemotherapy, not to being exposed to the corona bug. So there was a person who was getting chemotherapy treatment, and of older age this person was, and they still didn't contract it. They still didn't get it. 455 people were exposed in this one clinical trial research, and not one person had the corona bug or caught it. So here is, I want you guys to grab this link. It's in the description below, and in the comments. It'll be tagged in the first pinned comment. Grab this link and share it with your friends, with your family, with maybe people who have questioned what you're thinking and the truth. Show this to them, that this is another clinical trial study, that it's an independent one too. It's not from the giant pharmaceutical you know, Johnson & Johnson or GlaxoSmithKline, Abbott Labs, you know, those people. This is done at a medical hospital, independent research, and very, very informational stuff in here. You can even read this in its entirety, okay? Because I read this whole clinical research study in its entirety, and they even had people who come into the hospital. Okay, I'm sorry, let me back up. You can read in the study that these people were following PPE guidelines. However, in the beginning of this study, there weren't enough materials and supplies for everybody to be properly PPE'd. And they had to PPE from top down. So the doctors got the proper PPE first, then nurses, and then all the way down. So there were people in the hospital for a certain amount of time during this clinical trial who did not have proper PPE, and they still didn't test positive. Okay, so if that doesn't even make it more, like during this study, they did not have proper PPE because it just wasn't available, and still nobody tested positive. So 455 people, clinical trial study, nobody tested positive. This isn't the first one either. I've posted a flyer, this one. As you can see, this is a clinical, several clinical trial studies that have gone on the last decade. This is 7 clinical trial studies over the last decade that prove that these N95 and these medical masks have no protection against a virus which the nanometers are minuscule, like the COVID and the SARS-2 is. The nanometers are well below 100 nanometers in some of the particles from the virons from the virus. So there's no way that a mask is going to protect you. And another thing is I laugh all the time when I think about this. When my wife goes into when she was in medical research, and she went into a place that had viruses or spooky stuff, they got geared out, man. It wasn't just a medical mask. That is so stupid of people just to think a simple medical mask is gonna just, all of a sudden you got your fucking Superman cape on. Nobody can touch you. Nobody can touch you. Look at me, I got a mask. Your eyes are still exposed, stupid. Your eyes are just as easy as an entrance as in your mouth. So if you're that worried about covering your face, you might want to put some goggles on too. Come on, man, think about it. You going into a place, into a bio lab, you don't just put an N95 mask on or a medical mask, man. You get bioed out from head to toe with goggles. Think about this shit. Share this. Wake up.